As the universe ended and began again repeatedly, Funny said, "Kars, you placed 9 discs in Dio, correct?" The funniest said, "Why is it Dio could not put himself back together after you did that to him?" Kars laughed.
"Those were stand discs, but all 9 were blank. However, they were all made by me, and the parameters were set to my own body. For a human, or even a vampire, the rule is 1 stand per person. Even with blank discs, his body tried to accommodate the new stands, was unable to fit them in the space that originally held his stand, and tried to compensate by splitting him into 9 pieces."
"I see."
"Any life form's capacity is somewhat flexible but limited by nature. Vampires may be immortal like me, but there is a massive difference between our capacities and our abilities. Only I can truly call myself the ultimate being, and only I can actually handle the stands I make. The automobiles you drive don't just run on just any fuel, do they? Dio Brando has attempted to accommodate that fuel by altering his own body, by splitting himself into pieces, and until the shock of that wears off, he'll remain that way."
"I see. It isn't just the number of parts and the type of parts that match. The head of this holy man's body has a crown of thorns," the funniest explained. "There are holes in the palms of each hand and through each foot," said Funny. "These were believed to be stigmata, but perhaps we were mistaken. You saw it too? Dio's head had a crown of thorns and he had holes in his hand and feet. Dio's crown of thorns was a stand, and if the holes in his hands and feet were not caused by crucifixion but by some other injury, then we have made a terrible mistake, and all of this was planned so that we would make that mistake. Dio is not a holy man, the polar opposite of one. Like Kars said, there is little to him but self-love and deceit. And if Dio is that body, then at the least we think what we have put our faith in, and this secret becomes all the more urgent. And we have just verified one last thing. My wife Scarlett told me that the underground facility beneath Trinity Church is long since empty. The doors that can only be tampered from the inside were standing open with no signs of tampering. Good Lord. And we have no way of knowing when this happened. That facility has always been there. Even as the universe renewed itself, it remained. The holy man is a singularity, but the holy man is gone. And he was never holy. He was Dio Brando. At this point, all we could do is abandon hope. Yes. Look, the sped-up time is coming to an end. The speed of the strobing sky was growing gentler. The blinding light and pitch darkness of the universe ending and beginning had passed, and we were down to the stars and moon and sun spinning around us. Jorge Joestar, you appear to be standing there in a daze. But were you counting the universes? How many was it? 37, I said. Check and see. 37 loops should have brought us back to the time we started in. The sunset sky, American fighters scrambling overhead. In the distance, stuck to the outside of the rhinoceros beetle's armour on his frog-like stand, was this era's Funny Valentine. He was still there. Seriously, god damn, the funniest grandfather, this other Funny Valentine, had clung so closely to the rhinoceros beetle's armour, to the inside of Antonio Torres' stomach, that like a tick or a parasite, he became part of Antonio Torres, and had ridden out the sped-up time, exposing his flesh to 36 deaths and births of the universe. What had that been like? Elizabeth and the rancher's dust boot was still hanging upside down from the sky next to the dying torso of Antonio Torres, and I had them check our current place and time. The island of Great Britain had come ashore in America, and right in front of us, well, right underfoot, was Manhattan Island. The funniest went to Funny's parallel world and used the pebble phone to make another call. When he got through to the First Lady, Scarlett, she was in a panic. "Are you okay? What on earth is happening on that island?" Apparently Great Britain had vanished and reappeared a few seconds later. After answering a flurry of detailed questions, the funniest hung up and turned towards us. We're back to July 24th, 2012, the same one we left. Funny nodded. In other words, we passed through 37 universes and looped back to our world. Which means the universe I was born in is the world's final universe. The funniest paused and looked at Kars. And the one you come from is the first. Kars grinned back, but said nothing. And Dio Brando has closed the loop, with himself cast as a holy man who brings prosperity. He's taken the napkins from the banquet table, Funny said. Whatever the fuck that meant. I looked up. Made in Heaven Ultimate Requiem was floating out beyond Antonio Torres, but there was no sign of Dio Brando. I can't see him, but is Dio Brando still up there?
No, he's gone,
Kars said, breaking his silence. How do you know?
That was my stand originally, you know. It's still out of my control, but that effect is fading. Dio's gone and the job he had for it is over.
So you'll be able to use that stand again?
There is nothing I can or cannot do.
I see, the funniest said. Then we can use that stand to speed up time again and go to the universe where Dio is. If only we knew where, or when that is.
We know that,
Kars said.
My stand remembers when Dio left it, one universe after this one.
Funny thought for a moment. Then we can use the stand above us to speed up time and catch up to Dio?
Yes, but why would we do that? To kill Dio Brando, I mean, who has now become this holy man.
Kars grinned.
But this holy man has gained you prosperity, and you fought to protect that.
So what I'm gathering from this is that Dio is now Jesus, apparently. So, that's nice. But, the funniest said, can we really let him get away with this? Funny added, perhaps our decision to honour him has led to a great many of the evils in this world. Kars sneered.
So the prosperity your holy man provided was really a matter of perspective? Then does it matter that the source of your prosperity was Dio Brando? Not like your history changes.
No, it changes to a spiral staircase.
Only on the universal level,
Kars said dismissively.
I'm speaking on the world level. This world is a string of 37 universes, which form a loop. If you look at each universe, then a similar but distinct history repeats itself 37 times, and in the exact same 37 histories happen again.
Neither Valentine had anything more to say, so I spoke up. So catching up to him by speeding up time is no good. You can't change history by following the axle of time. If you want to change history you can't chase into the future. You got to go back and fix things. That's how time works. Kars laughed. A happy, excited laugh.
What's the difference between going forwards and backwards in time?
I don't know. But consciousness and space-time are closely intertwined. The power of human consciousness. Even stands are not just like weapons we pick up, but a power we make inside ourselves. And they can be so strong they control the flow of time in the entire universe. Sure, that might be an extreme example. Maybe even a power so great only one person in all of recorded history has wielded anything like it. But even with more modest powers, even the most ordinary people have wills of their own, and weak though it may be, they have a similar power. So like, if everyone on an island with lots of people living on it like Great Britain thinks about turning back time or denies a fact of history, then it'll have an effect, right? I really had no basis for this. Well, I sort of did, but I couldn't explain it logically, and I never tried to tell anyone about anything like this. It was really awkward, but I was pretty sure I was right. Kars laughed merrily.
A curse, is it?
He said. That was pretty similar, really. But it went on.
But if we are to go back, how would we do it? We have a way to go forward, but have you thought of a way to go back?
Exactly. I'd really like if we could go to the Hourcross house in Morio. Actually, it's the Cube house now. But we can't access Morio right now, and the Cube house has no windows or doors, and it's just walls so you can't get in or out. And the way the Cube house time travel device works is sort of weird to operate, so I'm not sure we could get to the time we wanted to.
So?
I'm not sure, but I do have one thing worth trying.
And? Spit it out.
Alright. You've heard of the Bermuda Triangle. Kars naturally had no knowledge of human legends. I gave him a quick rundown and told him how Sukamajuku had come from the Bermuda Triangle in 1904 to Nishiakatsuki in 2012, how our two world maps compared, and how the Bermuda Triangle in 2012 overlapped what was now Nishiakatsuki in 1904. As I did, I realised, are those the two singularities? Nishiakatsuki and the Bermuda Triangle. Kars grinned.
Anyone who doesn't notice that will never get to heaven.
Once again, I was impressed by Kars' ability to absorb new things.
But what is this heaven?
He asked. Huh?
I'm aware that humans have concepts like the afterlife, the next world, heaven and hell. But is the heaven referred to in those beliefs the same as the heaven we're talking about now? I know that humans consider heaven a relaxing place, but did that apply to the heaven Enrico Pucci was searching for? Dio used him and he wound up dying somewhere, right? And heaven comes from the message that got Enrico Pucci going in the first place. Who made that message and sent it to Enrico Pucci?
In the air above Cape Canaveral in July 1999 was... Kars didn't wait for me to answer.
And what happened to the detective who came through this Bermuda Triangle?
He died, right after he got to Morio. Bucciolati had said he was killed by Antonio Torres. Kars had read my memories on the spaceship, but he had no way of knowing that the mystery in the cube house had been solved. And yet, he said,
Antonio Torres is a zombie. Zombies are nothing but minions for vampires. They are made by vampires and do everything for them. Is it a coincidence that out of the 4 rhinoceros beetles, only Great Britain has armour mixed with Antonio Torres so people can get in and out? Like Enrico Pucci, that man.
He glanced at the funniest who cowered.
And of course the 9 pieces of Dio Brando.
And we couldn't kill Antonio Torres. It was like Great Britain was held hostage.
And look!
Kars pointed to a photograph Naranj had sent to the Pebble phone.
The modern Bermuda Triangle is right in front of where Great Britain is, outside Manhattan Island's armour.
Liberty Island, where the Statue of Liberty stood.
But this Bermuda Triangle is also very close to Trinity Church on Manhattan Island, and I just checked the facility underneath that church and found the body of the holy man was gone. They don't know when it vanished, but it might not have been somewhere in the last 36 histories of the universe. It may have been just a few moments ago. 36 universes ago, the Bermuda Triangle and Manhattan were on the same continent, but quite far apart. Now they've moved very close together, and only the Bermuda Triangle is exposed. Doesn't that worry you at all? Can't you feel the vampire's unconscious glee as he waits for you to plunge into the trap he's prepared? My point is, no matter how you look at it, our current situation is far too convenient.
I was too busy beating myself up to answer, and there was no need to answer. He wasn't asking. He was ripping me apart.
Why is it humans choose to blind themselves the moment things cease to make sense?
Kars had said that to Pucci, but I was guilty of the same thing. Even as I'd attempted to go against the man who'd invented heaven, I'd gotten excited about a miracle that same man had prepared. I'd gotten obsessed with poking at the puzzle Pucci had solved, even though that puzzle itself was but worth refuting.
I'm loath to admit it, Kars said, but at the moment this is all proceeding according to Dio Brando's plan.
It certainly was.
It won't be easy pulling one over on him. That crown of thorns allows him to know the future accurately, in great detail, and for a long time to come. How do you plan to pull one over on him? To catch him by surprise? Think on that, detective. Who's capable of surprising him? Who's already taken him by surprise?
When I was dragged into Valentine's Palms, he'd said, "What the fuck?" There was real surprise on his face. I raised a hand. Me. I can surprise Dio. Then Kars asked,
Why can you do that?
And the second singularity is you, Jorge Joestar. Those were funny Valentine's words, but it wasn't because I was a singularity. I'd chosen to forget that idea. You are born only once in this world, and there is no replacement for you in any other universe or in any parallel world. He'd said that, but I had no way of verifying that, no reason to believe it. At the time, Funny Valentine was busy fighting Kars. There are things I found believable about his message, but at the moment I didn't need to buy into it. And yet I was still special. Why? Dio screamed when Beyond stood behind him.
My blood calls to blood, and thus I know I am the king of the world. I rule everything!
If the Crown of Thorns' range was limited to his blood, then... Because I'm adopted, I said. I never dreamed having no blood relation to my parents would ever be a weapon, and only someone with a beyond could defeat someone with a beyond.
That's right, Kars said. I myself haven't let that vampire drink my blood, but it seems he ate another me, and that life counts as me. He may well have some idea what I'll do. So, we must rely on you.
I never dreamed Kars Senpai would speak to me that way.
So, figure out how to get back to the past and pull the rug out from under Dio.
Wait, though, it isn't that. I mean, even when I stepped in, Dio still had us dancing on the palm of his hand.
Certainly that vampire has a mysterious power and an unusual drive, but you've been in your share of perilous situations and survived.
Yeah, but you're a smart guy, Kars. It doesn't have to be me, does it? If I hadn't gone to that parallel world with you, if you hadn't pulled me after you, what would you have done?
The point of Valentine's plan was to overlap the parallel worlds. In other words, one layer wasn't enough, because even though there's only one stand per person, in the next universe someone with that same stand might appear. The two Valentines proved that. And I can survive multiple universes, in this world or a parallel one. I would have sought out a stand master in that world, one who had the same stand, and I would have found them, and I'd have used that stand to return to the world I began in. I know that one more pass through history will lead to a world made of 37 universes, so if I just wait long enough, I'll be able to return to the same universe in time, even if I couldn't find the stand I needed. If I wait another 37 universes, I could go to where another Valentine would send another me here, and get back to the world I came from.
Man, Ultimate Being sure were ready to play the long game. But if you did that, you and the other cars would coexist, creating a paradox.
That applies to the real world as well. No such paradox was created. Perhaps your intervention was inevitable, but I'm sure I would have thought of some means of escaping. So?
Huh?
How do we outmaneuver Dio?
Don't rush me, I thought. But I'd already outmaneuvered Dio once, right? When I brought us back from the parallel world. Okay. But, I said,
spit it out.
I only know one stand that goes back in time.
And?
Could Kira Yoshikage's Killer Queen's Bites the Dust help us out here? That only took people back an hour. But Kars grinned at me.
Explosions are hardly a threat to me.
What? But we're trying to get back 36 universes ago.
Time is also not a problem for me.